Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude Abion Mystic, and welcome to today's War Correspondent special report. We are discussing the war in the Middle East, the moon, and aliens. Yes, with me to discuss all of these amazing topics, of course, is Carrie Cassidy. She is the author of The Rebel Gene, The Secret Space and the Future of Humanity. You can find her book on Amazon, and you can find her work also at projectcamelotportal.com. Carrie, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And thank you for putting a Amazon thing for my book. That's very kind of you. Most people don't do that, so that's kind.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you being on. And of course, you and I did your book decode when it first came up. And I recommend the audience members, if you haven't read the book and who haven't seen the decode, to go watch that. You can find it probably on my old Odyssey channel. I think it was on my first or second YouTube channel that was deleted, but it's still there on Odyssey. And nonetheless, a really good book. We're going to touch upon some of these topic matters here today with respect to the rebel gene, how that ties into what's happening to the Middle East, and maybe what's happening on the moon also. But first, let me welcome everyone here in the live chat. Thank you for joining us here on Rumble. I see about 1,500 there. And I also see you guys watching us on the YouTube feed for now. So, Carrie, we're simulcasting now on YouTube, so let's be careful maybe for the first 5 or 10 minutes here. Let's be polite for the YouTube algos. And then we're going to move over the conversation to Rumble here for a no-holds-barred discussion about what's happening in this really, really messed up world of ours right now. So, Carrie, let's start here. I usually start these War Correspondent reports by asking my guests what they're tracking right now, what's on their radar, and perhaps to give us kind of like the 40,000-foot view of the situation as we stand here today on November 14. Take a few minutes here to build some roadmap here for the audience.
Okay. What kind of roadmap would you like?
Well, just that. Like, are there specific things right now that you're tracking on your radar that you think is important right now, moving forward to kind of decode what's happening, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's happening here with the constitutional crisis in the United States? Like, what's important? There's a lot of noise out there right now, Carrie. But what are the main, maybe 2 or 3 points that you're tracking that you think is important to follow up on?
Okay. I think it's very important to be focused on this incident or this event that people are talking about, especially Juan O'Savin, who's been talking about this for years.
Mhm.
So I was just on Patriot Underground talking about this, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. But I will say that someone did put in the question, they think there's going to be this, they're calling it a solar flare. I think that's what they're calling it, event. And what they don't realize is that when I interviewed Richard Allen Miller back in May of 2022, he was talking about just such an event. Okay. But the idea here is that a lot of people don't realize that a solar flare can be triggered, okay, either by an ET race or probably our secret space program to actually either hit the Earth or go away from the Earth. And so it doesn't mean it's a natural event. And the other thing is that it can also, when a solar flare was, if it's targeted in a certain spot on the Earth, in theory, from the sun, it could be triggering, for example, a volcano or volcanic reaction or chain reaction. So the Juan de Fuca fault supposedly is connected to Yellowstone, and Yellowstone is a super volcano, as many people know. And it is connected to all the Northern California and even, I think, Mammoth volcanoes. Okay. And there's a whole volcanic chain that you can follow, Mount Rainier and so on and so forth. So if a solar flare, just in theory, and I'm not a geologist, so you can check on all of this if you like and see what's what. Standeo, I would recommend, as a highly qualified, actually, geologist that worked with the secret space program for many years, lives in Australia, but he has a very well-known website. I think, and don't quote me, but I think it's standeo.com or something like that. But you can do a search on Google to find him. Deo is Deyo. So the idea here was that Richard Allen Miller, over a year ago, came to me, said, I need to do an interview with you that Navy intelligence, who he actually works for, has, I guess, allowed him to come forward, or did at that time, to say that there was a major event that he had seen in our future that was at what he said was at the time 99.999% likelihood. Okay, so that's extremely likely.
Right.
And he said it was going to happen end of March, beginning of April. Now he said it could be
Sorry, for 2023 past or 2024 coming forward?
24.
Okay.
It's definitely not past.
Okay. No, I thought the interview was before and he was predicting
The
23.
interview was in 2022.
Okay.
We are now in 2023. We passed, he said it was in beginning of the end of March, beginning of April of 2024. Okay. Since then, we have had Cliff High come forward, say some major event is in the future. I think the Cliff is saying it's going to happen before the end of the year, before the end of this year, which I don't actually think is correct timing. Now, someone else just, I guess it was yesterday, Patriot actually said he thought Cliff was saying April as well. And then we've got, Dick Algeier, who also works with Cliff, I guess, on occasion, and his group of remote viewers who have also seen something in and around April of 2024. So everyone more or less seems to be coalescing around this date, although, and Richard Allen Miller explained quite a bit in depth. My site was taken down, I think it was for 6 days right after that interview, okay? It was just wiped. And luckily I had multiple copies that I was running at the same time. So I have it and it is available on my website. You want to see my interview with him. He's a physicist who has worked in black projects pretty much his entire life. Okay. And that means in a secret space program, he's even gone to Area 51. He's worked with aliens. He's also, he says, been given what you call a get out of jail free card to go to Mars if things go south on Earth. He is currently coming on my show in like, it might even be a couple days. Sorry, I don't have my calendar in front of me. And I've got so much going on that I just haven't had time to look. But he's coming on my show to talk further about this in his new book called The Diamond Body. And he claims that he sent a group to Mars by virtual reality in this kind of out of body, I don't know if you'd call it out of body experience or what he's calling it, but he claims that he did that for the Navy way back in many years ago. Mm-hmm. He is claiming that it's a skill that we all have. I certainly can do that. I can leave my body and even come back and be wide awake, which is a very strange thing. So I guess I'm piling a lot of things right in here to answer your question, but I want to say in answer to the person's question that they actually posted yesterday along with the Patriot video, that they wanted me to talk about this event. Now they think this event is going to be some kind of mystical, ascension event. This event we're talking about in April. Mm-hmm. One thing Richard Allen Miller said when he described the event, and again, he said he calls it in military terms, a 3 sigma certainty. But then he called me like, now it's a year later to say he thinks it's now 2025 or later. I don't know if he was hedging his bets, trying to get out of the line of fire, maybe told him to put out some disinfo. Right. I don't know if it's true, false, or whatever. It just seems strange to me that back in, again, and this was the interview was around April of 2022 or May. And now fast forward to here we are in 2023. We're getting much closer to the actual event. He now kind of backed off the 2024 date, although I don't think he's doing it with a great deal of certainty. I will tell you that he says that we have already had some reversals of our of the shifting of the poles here on Earth, and that other planets have had pole shifts recently. So he's trying to say there's a lead up. And I do know that I have another whistleblower who actually knows what Richard Allen Miller, who contradicted him. He said no, but Richard insists that the government contacted him, told him this was happening to our poles, and so on. So, these games that are played, right, in the intelligence community, you never quite know who your friends are, and you never quite know whether they're telling you the truth. And
right.
who's truthful and who's not. It's very likely this other sort of source of mine could even have been trying to mislead both me and Richard Allen Miller, because in essence, they don't really want to prepare people
Right.
for anything. Now, it's interesting. I'm re-watching Fringe, all the episodes, and it's interesting. At a certain point, they change timelines and they go into the future, and they have a solar flare event that does a lot to Earth. Now, one thing that Richard Allen Miller said about that event is that it's not going to be extinction level, that it would be maybe more localized to, I got the northern, North Pacific Northwest. But I also have seen in my future dreams, which a lot of them are coming true right now, which is quite amazing, that there is going to be a movement of land masses. And I actually saw, I don't know if it's going to happen now or way in the future, but a landmass rising off the coast of San Francisco, which was an amazing thing to see in a dream.
Wow.
But so I know, I just wanted to zero in on that particular piece of information that's coming forward and say that, contrary to what the person seems to think, I actually think this is a deep state operation. I think they've been planning it. Ed Dames talked a long time ago about the kill shot from the sun. It never happened. We've had multiple kill shots.
Dr. Laviolette was also talking about the galactic superwave that might trigger the sun into doing its thing.
That's true too.
Right.
So when you look at this story, and then there are the Planet Xers, the Nibiru people that think that's causing the changes. But all of this it all came around in Camelot in the early days, and we've been operational since really near the end of 2005. So for me, it's like, does that make 20 years? Whatever it is. Okay. So I just want to say, even way back then, we were getting these sort of warnings. But what happened was there was an intervention, and Ashiana Dean talked about that. In essence, they were stopped from doing their pole shift, the shift of our plates here on Earth. So I'm not sure whether this is that same thing coming around again, where they're going to cause it purposefully again, and that they may have better technology than they used to do such a thing. Or whether, they were stopped back then, they've reconstituted whatever it is, they're going to try again, or what's happening. You know what I'm saying? So this is worth noting, but I don't think it's an ascension level event. I don't think it's like about ascension. I think it's another drive actually to keep humans lodged in material reality, which a lot of these kind of scare events are all about.
Right.
So we have a choice in the matter, if you will. You have a choice in not necessarily whether the event happens or not, but in how you react to it, what it means to you, and how you deal with it. And of course, you can prepare in certain ways. So there's that. Then
that's a lot. Okay, hold on. So there's that. That's a lot to start with, Carrie.
Oh yeah,
you're zooming in on this Earth change.
I was supposed to do a summary for YouTube, right? I'm sorry.
Right. No, that's okay. That's a good start. Let's pause here. Let me bring the link down to the audience members and the live chat here to come and join us on Rumble. We're going to continue this fascinating topic, and I want to bring in the yugas of time, because you just mentioned blocking us into this physicality. And of course, we're leaving the Kali Yuga, we're moving into the Bronze Age, coming back closer to Galactic Central. Assuming that the historical records on the planet are true, it appears that we are growing as a species when we have more light. And of course, we go back into the darkness when we go back in the descending wheel of the Yuga. So it's quite an interesting time to be in. So there are power players right now on the scene, on one hand, trying to hold humanity into the position that we are now, the slave matrix model that we are now. And at the same time, there's universal energies. We're moving into this age of Aquarius, suggesting that humanity might get a shot, and I say might here, and I'm cautiously optimistic, at taking control of our own evolution here and becoming the master of self here. So join us, guys, in a couple of seconds here. I'm going to flip off the YouTube feed here, and I bring the link down one more time here for Rumble. available. So please come and join us there for this fascinating conversation. So, okay, so let me remove YouTube. Yes.